Hello, I'm Farrukh Dhondy, and I'm happy and indeed privileged to introduce today Farrokh Suntook and his first novel called The People We Know. Uh, I'm going to ask, first of all, Farrokh to introduce himself. Uh, Farrokh, how would you like to be known? People called me a British Indian writer and all sorts of things, but and some rather nasty names also. How would you like to be recognized? How would you introduce yourself?
Um, I would say that I'm somebody who is born into a Parsi family in Bombay and have lived in London for most of my life. So basically, I have a kind of multicultural background. Um, uh, I've absorbed a lot of cultures, and therefore um, I have the Indian in me and the British in me and everything. I don't know whether I can label myself in a simple way. Is that an unsatisfactory answer?
No, without giving anything away, I can say that your book is set in two continents and at least three very specific locations: Bombay, Mahabaleshwar, which is a kind of town on the hill town on the plateau of Western India, and of course in London. So, and there's a familiarity with all three places, very intimate familiarity, all three places in the book. Uh, Tell me, why is the book called The People We Know?
Well, the people we know, because I suppose the question is, do we really know the people we know? And that links directly to the basic plot. Do you need me to elaborate on that a bit?
No, I think it's an appropriate title because the book, well, I'd like you to describe it. How would you describe the book? How would you characterize it? Is it a mystery? Is it a thriller? Uh, is it a comedy romance? What is it?
No, no. I mean, of all those, I would say mystery is the closest description. It's about an Indian woman who discovers something shocking about her husband, whom she adored, something that she had never dreamt of, and she lands up keeping that secret for most of the book. And in the end, the secret is revealed in quite a shocking way. I say shocking because it deals with a topic that, to the best of my knowledge, has not yet been addressed in fiction.
I think that the book is very tense. It's full of tension and it's a page turner. I didn't want to put it down once I'd started it. Now tell us, this is your first novel. You're not basically a novelist. That's not what you did uh, in your life. Tell us about yourself. What did you do before you began this?
Well, if I just start from the beginning, as I said, I was born into a Parsi family in Bombay. I did most of my schooling in Bombay, and then I finished my schooling in London, and then went on to LSE and to do my bachelor's degree, and to Columbia University in New York to do my master's degree. And then for most of my career, I've been a business consultant in focusing on international marketing research. More recently, I've also been a coach for foreign executives wanting to improve their communication skills in English. And as a result of all that, I wrote a business book called The Stakeholder Balance Sheet some years ago. But this, The People We Know, this book we're talking about right now, is my first foray into fiction.
So tell us why you decided to foray into fiction, as you put it.
Well, the premise of that question is that I made a decision, and I didn't. Basically, I just fell into it. The way it happened was, I wish I could say that I had some great game plan to write something fictional. But what actually happened was that I was reading a newspaper article about something bizarre that happened within a family. And it made me start thinking, how did the family members, in particular the wife, react to what happened? What must she have felt? And then I thought, oh, well, that could be an interesting story, could be the interesting basis of a novel. And so I sort of mulled over it for a few days. The thoughts just came in and went out. And then I thought, well, maybe I should write this story. And I just went to my computer and started writing. This sounds it sounds oversimple, but actually that's exactly what happened. I had the basic outline of a plot, which I suppose you could describe in 2 sentences. But other than that, nothing. And it's very interesting. It was a learning experience for me because as I was writing, the story grew. The characters developed. One incident led to another incident. There was a sort of organic process going on. In a way, the story led me as much as I planned anything. And you may ask, why did I do this? Well, I don't know, there was some kind of urge in me, something almost in the pit of my stomach to bring something out. And so that's how it happened. Nothing grander than that.
I quite understand that. You say the pit of your stomach, but I know that the muse gets hold of you in all sorts of body parts and moves you on to imagine things, to fabricate plots, and to move on from there. Now, are you going to continue to be a writer? Because you proved yourself with this novel as somebody who has developed the skills of writing adequately, and readers will find that. Are you going to continue to write anything?
Well, I have the outline of a plot for another novel in my mind, so I hope I'll get onto that. But you refer to the skills of writing, and I made the point that I'd never written fiction before, but I have to say that in the course of my work in marketing research and also in my coaching work, I did do a lot of writing. It wasn't fictional writing, and of course I wrote my business book, but I did do a lot of writing. And one of the things that I suppose unconsciously influenced this book was the feeling I've always had that if you write something, you should be clear and you should communicate to your audience. I mean, this applies to speech as well. If you're speaking, you should be clear and communicate to your audience. That's the sort of book that I've always been attracted to. So if one thinks of other fiction, I love the writing of people like E.M. Forster or Graham Greene, because they write so lucidly and so gracefully and elegantly. And that to me those are qualities that I really appreciate. And I suppose in the course of my career, I've always striven to be lucid and clear. You know, if I'm explaining something to a client of mine, I want that client to understand what I'm saying. So avoid jargon and so on. And so that's why I tend to shy away from fiction where the book is written backwards, or where the grammar and syntax are deliberately mangled because they are quote unquote experimental books. That's not my type of book.
No, it's very clear that the book is not, I would say, experimental. I wouldn't say it's conventional, because it is quite startling in its revelations and in its penetration of character. But do tell me, all books, all fiction really is based on observation. But obviously you alluded to Green and to Graham Greene and to E.M. Forster as inspirations. Not that, not both those writers are, if you like, cross-cultural. They write about places apart from the ones that they were born into. And so is your book. Your book is multicultural, cross-cultural is one of the adjectives I'd use for it. How would you react to that description?
I think that's absolutely right. It is. You know, obviously the characters include English characters as well as Indian characters. And among the Indian characters, you have different people. You have Parsis feature a lot. You and I are both Parsis. And also, there's also the dynamic between some of the main Indian protagonists who are, if you like, upper middle class Indians, and their domestic staff, so other types of Indians, and also how that dynamic creates conflict as well. There is a scene in the book where Sheila, the main protagonist, finds that she's being very solicitous of the welfare of her domestic staff in Mahabaleshwar, whom she really loves. But she's very much the mistress of the house, and she's conscious of the fact that that doesn't sit very well with her guardian reading persona in the West, where she lives. So there's a kind of conflict over that. So yeah. I think that's all part of the sort of multicultural experience.
You know, when saying that this is a cross-cultural novel, I wouldn't say it's an Indian one, though I'm sure it'll find a large Indian readership. Do you read any modern contemporary Indian novels?
Yeah, I mean, I love, for example, The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. I think it was a beautifully written book. But one of the things I would notice about a lot of books that are about Indians as main characters is that they tend either to be based solely in India, like the Roy book, or they tend to focus on the Indian diaspora in the West. And those people tend to be people who are often very conflicted, who are torn between their Eastern upbringing, the culture of their parents, and their Western surroundings. They are searching for identity and all those sorts of things. My book is not like that at all. I'm talking about Indians who are very comfortable in their own skin. They have completely amalgamated West and East. I suppose a kind of analogy I would use, which may sound a bit cheesy, is the analogy of the color green. Green is an amalgam of blue and yellow. Yet when we look at the color green, we don't think that it's in some way some sort of conflicted color. It's just basically, it has its own identity. People respect green as much as they respect blue or yellow. And similarly, these people, these Indians that I'm talking about, are, if you like, green. They have totally absorbed both West and East. There's no conflict. They have their own sense of identity, and they're very, very comfortable in that identity. And so in that sense, this book might be slightly different from some of the other books that are written where Indian characters feature.
Yeah, I think, just to be slightly analytical, a lot of the books published in the West and a lot of the books published in India are very narrow in their outlook. They're very provincial in a sense, so that their readership is obviously stimulated by that provinciality. But your book is not. Your book is not based in a culture, it's based in the character. And that's what's fascinating about it.
Thank you. And the different characters are located in different places. London, of course, features, but so does Bombay and Mahabaleshwar. And I think that Mahabaleshwar in particular is the hill station is potentially of great interest to people because the vast majority of people wouldn't have even heard of the place. And it's a very beautiful hill station just near Bombay, which I know very well. And of course, I know Bombay well, and I know London very well because I've lived in London for most of my life.
Can I ask you a last, possibly impertinent question? Is any of the book autobiographical?
No, not at all. As I said, the trigger came from this newspaper article. So it's not at all autobiographical, not in terms of individual characters or plot. But of course, it is strongly influenced by my own experience and knowledge of places. So in a sense, I played safe. I've written about places like London, Bombay, and Mahabaleshwar that I know well. And so I hope that that lends credibility to the description of those places. I've written about people who are, if you like, archetypal. So there's this Parsi battle axe Bachu in the novel, who is not, I didn't think of any individual person, but she really, on reflection, reflects the kind of person whom, for example, my mother used to play bridge with. So, in a sense, if you use the word autobiographical in the broadest sense, of course, every novel is autobiographical because it reflects the experience of the author, but certainly not autobiographical in the sense of my thinking, oh, I'm going to talk about something that happened to me. Not at all.
Because autobiographical novels are today in vogue. You know, a lot of American novels are about the Black experience, and people talk not as James Baldwin would, but from their own very, very particular perspective, a kind of life written that. Your book is not that. And all I can say about it is that, all I should say about it is that it's the autobiography or the experience of life lends it authenticity and credibility. I do recognize the characters and I smile at them, and sometimes I'm intrigued by them as I read. So I think there's not much more to say. Thank you very much, Farrokh. And do you want to say anything more about the book or about yourself?
No, the only thing I would say is the people who have so far read it, the small number of people who read it, some of my beta readers who are wonderful in helping me so much in giving constructive feedback and so on, they all felt that they did not anticipate for a minute how the book was going to end. So I think hopefully that will be something that will be quite satisfying to
We're not giving it away. We'll leave that for the readers to find out themselves.
Yeah.
Good luck with it.
Okay. Thank you very much for, thanks.